Let's start off with the robbery. That's probably one of the bigger ones that we had. So this was yesterday, a little after noon. It was about 12:15, and we had a woman that walked into the Days Inn, which is in the 3400 block of South Gateway Boulevard. The clerk was in a back room or a back office, came out and found a woman, our suspect, was taking money out of the till. When she confronted this person, the suspect pulled out a knife, threatened her with that, waved it in front of her, and then ended up leaving the business. We had that employee, and then a second employee went outside to try to get some information on the car that she was driving, and the suspect drove her car and intentionally hit one of the employees. It was kind of maybe a glancing blow, so there wasn't any serious injuries, and then left the lot after that. So the employees were able to get the license plate number, pass that on to the dispatchers. Turns out that car had been reported stolen, and then we had an officer that found that car, and because it was suspect was involved in robbery, aggravated assault, they ended up pursuing the car. That vehicle went through Sioux Falls, ended up leaving Sioux Falls and headed east, and eventually the pursuit ended in Larchwood, Iowa. So we had officers, once they got to Larchwood, Iowa, and it was in a neighborhood, they ended up terminating that pursuit, but the Lyon County deputies ended up finding the car, and I don't know, I think there may have been a short pursuit on their end, but she was arrested on charges in Iowa. At this point in time, we don't have any charges yet in South Dakota. The detective is finishing an arrest warrant this morning, and so at some point in time, we anticipate there'll be an arrest warrant that will be issued hopefully today, and she'll likely have charges here in Sioux Falls. So I can tell you the suspect's 31, but because she wasn't arrested or charged yet in South Dakota, I can't give you any name or details about that.
Where's she from?
From Sioux Falls.
And no injuries reported?
No injuries were reported, that's correct.
Were any other vehicles taken and damaged to property during the pursuit?
I don't think so. I was kind of looking yesterday through the call, and I think most everywhere they went, the traffic was fairly light, so I didn't see any reports of any other damage.
Any idea of the speeds?
Speeds. Let me see if this one. I don't think it was anything terribly excessive. I don't know, but I mean, some of the areas they were fairly rural, and so again with that and then the light traffic, I don't think any of the speeds were terribly excessive, but I don't know exactly what they were.
How does this work? I mean, how far does Sioux Falls Police pursue, and then somebody else takes over, and they just stop, or?
Yeah, usually that it gets a little complicated, but it's essentially fresh pursuit. So they were pursuing, went across state lines. They notified the sheriff's office over there. I don't know if they notified the Iowa Highway Patrol, but that's typically what it is. When we leave our jurisdiction, we'll notify the next jurisdiction. If there's somebody in position that would be able to take over that pursuit from that agency, from that next agency, then we would back off, and then they would be the lead in that case. But in this one, it didn't get to that point. I don't think they had any deputies that were in that area during that pursuit. But like I said, once it got to the neighborhood and things were deemed too dangerous, then our police officers stopped and then left the state to come back to South Dakota.
You're talking about
In
in Larchwood?
Larchwood, right.
Do you know roughly where was the vehicle stopped?
I don't. That's the sheriff's office over there had that, yeah. Okay, so a couple of weapons violations. One of them was, this was in the 900 block of East 8th Street, and this was about 3 p.m. yesterday. We had a few different people that heard some gunshots, 3 gunshots actually, and had a description of the vehicle. We were able to use some traffic cameras and get a license plate, and we had officers that found that car. It was parked in the 4200 block of East 12th Street, and ultimately what they learned is the passenger of that car had basically leaned out the car, fired a gun 3 times into the air, so we didn't have any reports of any damage or injury. That man was arrested for reckless discharge of a firearm and discharge of firearm from a moving vehicle. And I can give you his name if you want that. Last is Kicker, K-I-K-E-R. First is Thomas, T-H-O-M-A-S. Middle is Joshua, J-O-S-H-U-A. And he's 34 from Sioux Falls. The other weapons violation, that was early this morning. That was a little after 6 a.m. We had a woman that just walked out to her car, which was in the 1800 block of East 5th Street. Once she was inside, she said 3 guys that she didn't know climbed into the car. One of them had a gun. They were saying something to her, but she didn't understand. There was a language barrier between them. She ended up jumping out of the car, running away, and screaming. The 3 guys then left her vehicle, got into a different one, and drove away. So she doesn't have a description of them. So we don't have a whole lot of information on that. Not sure why they jumped into her car or what they wanted.
Was she hurt at all?
She was not hurt at all.
Okay.
Those are probably the bigger things. The aggravated assault was a domestic. The burglary were a couple apartments that were entered. The disorderlies, the only thing out of that one was last night about 10:30. We had a woman that was walking near like 43rd and Westport, and she said noticed a car that was following her. The car pulled up, and she said the guy was basically asking her to get in, comments like that. She didn't. She went to the store and then ended up calling police, but didn't see the car after that. Let's see. The others are all kind of reports. The family offenses are reports and domestics. Frauds, ID thefts, credit cards. There was a few fake 20s that were found at one business. Larcenies, a few shopliftings, a lot of unlocked cars. No guns taken, thankfully. And that's pretty much it. The sex offense was a report. Nothing suspicious from the unattended death, and really nothing big out of anything else. Anything else? Okay, thanks.